Hello there, my name is Stanford Raffles. I am going to be your personal tutor for Chapter 1. In this lesson, we are going to investigate a problem. That problem is, was there Singapore before 1819? Was there Singapore before 1819? Yes, no or maybe? Here are the things you need to help you solve the problem. First, you will need a timeline. Secondly, your secondary to history textbook. And lastly, some sources of information to help with your conclusion. This is how a timeline would look like. Draw a straight line beginning from the left to the right. Introduction to activity. When Raffles landed on Singapore, he only found a small group of fishermen and farmers. Now insert this event in the timeline chart. Now your updated timeline would look like this. Make 1819 as a referral point for your investigation. You are investigating if there's Singapore before 1819, that is to the left of 1819 on the timeline. At this point of 1819, it appeared that Singapore was only a small fishing village. Let's read the story of Sang Nila Utama from the Sejarah Melayu. Sejarah Melayu or Malay Annals is a Malay literary work, which covers a period of over 600 years that chronicles the, then and now, descendants of rulers in the Malay archipelago. The original version of Sejarah Melayu was written during the reign of Malacca Sultanate in Malacca. The subjects covered in the work included the founding of the Kingdom of Malacca and its relationship with neighboring kingdoms, the advent and spread of Islam in the region, the history of the royalty in the region, as well as the administrative hierarchy of the Malacca Kingdom and its successor states. Hi, my name is Singa the lion. I'm Sang Nila Utama's favorite animal. We are best of friends. You will know why from the following story. In this task, you have to number the events in the correct sequence. I am jumbled up the sequence of events. It is your task to correctly place them in order, beginning with the first as number 1 and the last as number 5. To help you with this exercise, you refer to page 3 of your textbook, which shows the comic strip adapted from the Sejarah Melayu. You and your study partner are to finish this exercise in 2 minutes. Sang Utama caught sight of an island across the sea. The island had sand so white that it looked like a piece of cloth. He asked one of his ministers, "Indira Bapal, what place is that?" Indra Bapal answered, "Your Highness, the land is known as Tamask." Sang Utama said, "Let us sail to the land." A violent storm broke out. The anxious boatman said to the ruler that the boat was sinking because of the king's crown. The storm subsided only when Sang Utama threw his crown overboard. The ship finally landed. Sang Utama and his ministers went inland to hunt wild animals. Sang Utama saw a strange, agile and fast-moving beast. It had a red body and a black head. He asked, "What animal is that?" None of his ministers knew. One of his ministers, Demang Lebar, finally said, "Your Highness, I heard in ancient times it was a lion that had that appearance. I think we must have seen a lion." Sang Utama agreed with Demang Lebar that the sighting of the lion was a good sign. He decided to establish a city at Tamask, which he called Singapura or Lion City. Here are the answers. Number 1. Sang Utama caught sight of an island with very white sand. Number 2. He asked his ministers to sail to the island. Number 3. The ship finally landed. Sang Utama and his ministers went inland to hunt wild animals. Number 4. Sanghutama saw a strange, agile and fast-moving beast. One of his ministers told him that it was a lion. Number 5. Sanghutama felt that the sighting of the lion was a good sign. He decided to build a city at Chamask, which he called Singapura or Lion City. What do you think? Is the story of Sanghutama a legend or a fact? A legend is a non-historical or unverifiable story handed down by tradition from earlier times and popularly accepted as historical. A fact is something known to exist or to have happened. Section According to the Sejarah Melayu, Singapura grew into a thriving trading center. Section Some historians claim that what is recorded in Sejarah Melayu is probably a legend. Now insert this event into the timeline chart. This is how the timeline would look like after updating the story by Sejarah Melayu, that Singapore was a thriving trading center. What is this act of checking what the Sejarah Melayu said against other sources called? Corroboration. So, is the story of Sanghutama a legend or a fact? Yes, no or maybe? Let's cross-refer to another source. Cross-refer means to check the validity of the information with another source. 2. Wang Diyuan account. Wang Diyuan was a well-known businessman who traveled to Southeast Asia. He described Singapore as a trading center, where Chinese traders brought valuable goods to sell. Section According to him, Singapore was a bustling trading center in the 1330s and 1340s. This Chinese written source supports the description of the Sejarah Melayu, that Singapore was a prosperous trading center. Now insert Wang Diyuan's account and description of Singapore into the timeline. Your updated timeline would look like this. What do you think? Since Wang Diyuan's account corroborates support with the Sejarah Melayu, do you think you can trust what Sejarah Melayu said about Singapore? Yes, no or maybe? One way to do corroboration is to cross-refer to another source. 3. Archaeological evidence. Archaeologists had unearthed fragments of blue and white Chinese porcelain of the Yuan dynasty and the Ming dynasty. Section Other objects such as compass, wine cups and coins from China and Sri Lanka were found. Until today, more than 30,000 pieces of artifacts have been recovered at the Fort Canning archaeological site. Now insert the artifacts discovery at Fort Canning archaeological site into the timeline. Your updated timeline will look like this. What is your final conclusion? With archaeological evidence, do you think you can trust what Sejarah Melayu said about Singapore being a bustling trading center? Yes, no or maybe?